Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex are once again dominating headlines, not because of a new project, not because of some groundbreaking humanitarian contribution, but because of yet another swirling narrative about their supposed tug-of-war over returning to the United Kingdom. According to recent reports, Harry is ready to make the move back to England, craving the homeland he dramatically walked away from, while Meghan Sussex is digging her heels in and refusing to entertain the idea. A royal expert, Lynn Carrott of E20 Communications, who always seems conveniently available when drama is needed, claims that although a return isn't guaranteed, it's not off the table either. And while this might sound like the palace pulling strings again, the more the details unravel, the more it becomes obvious that this isn't the work of Buckingham Palace being desperate for attention. This is actually Harry and Meghan Sussex themselves feeding the conversation, stirring the pot, and keeping their names dominating the public space. The couple that once shouted to the world that they wanted privacy, peace, and independence from the British monarchy seems unable or perhaps unwilling to truly detach from the attention that surrounds them. It has now become a pattern, a predictable cycle, where every few weeks, right when public interest begins to fade, a new headline mysteriously emerges, conveniently placing Harry and Meghan Sussex back into the global spotlight they insist they want nothing to do with. But instead of quietly living the private life they claimed to seek when they abandoned royal duties in 2020, they continually stay wrapped in the same media whirlwind they blame for their misery, almost as if they need it to survive, as if the attention is no longer a burden, but a lifeline. What becomes even more apparent is how strategically this narrative has unfolded. 5 years ago, when they left the UK for California, they painted a picture of escape, from scrutiny, from control, from the toxic environment that they said was destroying them. Meghan Sussex spoke publicly about the racism, the harsh treatment, the lack of support, and Harry spoke about generational trauma and protecting his family from history repeating itself. They positioned themselves as victims of an institution that refused to evolve, and they won huge public sympathy. But over time, sympathy has slowly shifted, especially as their actions began contradicting their words. They wanted privacy, yet they created multi-million-dollar Netflix shows about their private lives. They said they didn't want media intrusion, yet they gave Oprah the most revealing interview the royal world had seen in decades. They said they wanted peace, yet every few months a new rumour, always fueled by anonymous sources close to them, surfaces in the press, and they do little to shut it down. And now, the latest rumour is wrapped in just enough uncertainty to keep the world talking. Harry allegedly wants to return to England, while Meghan Sussex refuses. The perfect conflict, the perfect storyline, the perfect way to get everyone debating them again. And that is where Lynn Carrott's commentary becomes interesting. She says Harry is keeping his options open, which is why the conversation keeps coming back. But keeping options open is one of the vaguest, most ambiguous phrases imaginable. It means nothing and everything at the same time. It gives Harry the flexibility to deny or confirm anything later. It creates a sense of suspense, a sense of wondering what he will do next. And suspense sells. Suspense keeps people attached. Suspense keeps the attention flowing. Meanwhile, Meghan Sussex's stance, as described by Carrott, is predictably firm. She had a painful experience in the UK. She felt unsupported. She was attacked mercilessly by the tabloids. Her race, her family, her past, her personality, everything was dissected. She has no interest in returning to a place that treated her as an outsider. And on the surface, that explanation makes sense. But beneath it lies a far more strategic truth. Meghan Sussex thrives in the United States. Her brand, her career aspirations, her media connections, her public identity, everything she values is rooted in America. Hollywood accepts her in a way the British establishment never did. The US media treats her as a cultural figure, a woman shaping her own destiny, a celebrity, a philanthropist, an advocate. Returning to the UK would strip her of that narrative. She would once again be compared to senior royals, judged by British royal standards, and overshadowed by the very institution she wanted to rise above. Staying in America keeps her in control of the narrative, and control is something Meghan Sussex has always prioritised. She carefully curates each appearance, each message, each partnership. Her life in the US gives her the power to shape her image in a way she could never do in England. And that kind of control is deeply tied to attention. Attention she can direct, harness, and transform into influence. The more we examine this storyline, the more it becomes impossible to ignore that Harry and Meghan Sussex might be the ones driving it. Whenever interest begins to cool around them, something new emerges. A rumour about marital tension, a whisper about Harry's regret, a hint at reconciliation with William, a source claiming Meghan Sussex is frustrated, a leak suggesting Harry misses home. These are not coincidences. They are too frequent, too timely, too perfectly crafted to reignite debate. And in the world of global celebrity, because that is what they have become, attention is currency. It drives opportunity. It secures deals. It keeps them relevant in a world where the public forgets fast. So the bring Harry back theory doesn't feel like a palace operation. It feels like Harry and Meghan Sussex throwing just enough fuel into the fire to keep it burning. Harry, in particular, seems trapped between the image of the prince who escaped and the prince who still longs for something he left behind. He wants to appear strong yet vulnerable, liberated yet nostalgic, independent yet emotionally connected to his roots. That internal conflict gives him a compelling storyline, and compelling storylines keep people watching. Meghan Sussex, on the other hand, is positioned as the strong one, the decision-maker, the one choosing a path forward. She becomes the anchor of their identity, the protector of their American life, the one who refuses to let the family be swallowed by the system they abandoned. It's a dynamic that gives each of them a role, a personality, a place in the public imagination. And the public eats it up. Because whether people love them or hate them, one thing is guaranteed: people talk about them. And that, ultimately, seems to be the point. It becomes clearer with each new cycle that if Harry and Meghan Sussex truly wanted silence, they would disappear. They have the resources. They have the freedom. They have the privacy of Montecito. They have the ability to cut ties with the British narrative entirely. Yet they don't. They hover in the space between being royals and being celebrities, between wanting privacy and wanting headlines, between moving forward and clinging to the past. And every time their relevance begins to dip, something new appears to pull the spotlight back. The real story here isn't whether Harry will return or whether Meghan Sussex will allow it. The real story is how they have mastered the art of staying talked about, of keeping themselves in global conversations, of using speculation and ambiguity as tools for maintaining public interest. Their names are not fading. Their story is not dying out. Their relevance is not slipping away, because they won't let it, because they can't afford to let it, because attention has become a defining part of who they are, and without it, their post-royal identity becomes harder to sustain. That's why this latest narrative feels less like something happening to them, and more like something created for them, by them, or at the very least, encouraged by them. Harry being ready to return is a perfect hook. Meghan Sussex refusing is the perfect twist. Together, they form the perfect storm, one that keeps eyes on them and headlines circulating. And for two people who seem to rely on public attention as much as they rely on their own carefully constructed independence, that storm is not a burden. It's a strategy. In the end, the real question isn't whether Harry will move back or whether Meghan Sussex will stay away. The real question is how long this cycle will continue, and whether the public will eventually tire of the constant contradictions. But for now, Harry and Meghan Sussex remain exactly where they want to be, at the centre of attention, with the world once again talking about what they will do next.